Beautiful. All right, let's just get a quick audio check from those on the committee online. Mike, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right, I'm gonna ask the same of you, Peter.
Loud and clear.
Beautiful. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. So with that said, I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Wellington Capital Improvement Program Committee to order. It is February 11, 2026 at 7:02 p.m. Members present in the room, we have Jennifer McCoo, myself, James Marshall, Jeremy Brothers, Jason Ross, and online we have in attendance Mike McCoo and Peter Bacon. Thank you, everybody.
Jim, I'll be in the room in a minute. I just got on here because the meeting was starting.
Yep. We'll wait for it. Thank you. All right. So first up, another call to order, present to speak. I only see there's nobody in the room as per usual. And I see Alex. Is that Alex Moore?
It is. I don't have anything for present to speak, though. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, so then moving on. New business. We have approval of minutes for February 4th, 2026. Should be in your packet.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from February 4th, 2026.
Second. Motion made by Jason, seconded by Jen. Any discussion? Yep.
No discussion here.
All right, well, hearing no further discussion, I think Mike's about to walk in the room. That's why I'm slow rolling it. All right, hi, Mike. And hi, Christina. For the record, Christina Melos has joined us at 7:03 p.m. Motion has been made by Mr. Ross and seconded by Jen to approve the minutes for February 4th. And that is where we are at. Any discussion? Not even going to let you get ready. All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that is unanimous. Thank you, everybody. All right. Now we're down to the grind of it, right? Next up, item 3B is fiscal year 3031 land development. All right. So you guys have. So you guys have copies of the spreadsheet as it's got the yellow and green on it still, Jen. I apologize.
Guess I'm gonna live.
But I honestly left it on there figuring we were going to discuss this together as a group now, and it served as a reminder not to touch things until we discuss. So with that said, you do have some, as a precursor, I did send along with this documentation, some follow-up from the assessor related to the reval funding. And if I'm being completely honest, I'm still lost, having read it. But I think, by my understanding, I think the estimate we have is the best estimate we're going to get. Unless somebody else read that differently.
Can you just say, I'm really sorry, I was trying to listen. Can you say that one more time?
So we have some follow-up from
From Kara, yeah.
Yep, from Kara related to the reval funding. There was question as to whether or not it was a 4-year versus a 5-year plan, and whether there was balance in the account, or whether that 17,500 that is carried. And I'm trying to find it on my sheet here. Here we go. Was accurate, and it sounds like in reading this email,
It sounds like it is.
It is, to the best of current knowledge. The only exception is she is unsure if there's a balance left over after paying the revalve company, and we are not going to be able to get that. So I think our 17.5 is the best guess for our needs, and revalve's not for another couple of years, and we can adjust in future years if it. Okay. The second additional follow-up, and I mentioned it briefly at while we were having our last meeting, but we had some further follow-up from Parks and Rec from Rachel about the pickleball and soccer lighting projects. As I mentioned, the pickleball pricing is less than the $30,000 request because they had not pulled out the work that was done previously in getting those set for lights. So the installed cost, according to this, is only $14,868 instead of the $30,000 as requested. So that's good either way. I'm going to. Well, we can do one of two things. Let's talk about it in the full plan development rather than. The second one was detailed estimates for soccer field lighting. She provided a quote from two quotes actually. First was from C&T Electric, which is the same company that quoted the pickleball lighting. And it gives a scope of work that, well, it's an estimated scope of work, an estimated cost for a scope of work as identified for a total installed cost of $190,800. The second estimate, let's go lighting, was provided based on the potential for a grant through the U.S. Soccer Foundation. But that would have to use most of the lighting of the vendor. And she doesn't have too much info on the grant. So for what that's worth, that's what we have. And we can decide how that fits and if you can make how it fits. We won't do this one in more detail. Any other updates that we have received since we had the departments in? You should already all have had there. In March, we had one from the library.
Yeah, so she didn't get one for the hybrid poles, or not the hybrid,
They're still writing up the quote. She doesn't have it yet.
that, what I know.
That's what it says.
Guardrail, the hybrid guardrail.
Yeah. So we can go back and look at that documentation and forget whether she said, I think it was going to be like in between the ask versus.
Yeah, well, it was in between the wood and the full metal.
Yeah, and I'll have to go open that up. And,
I would say if you.
all right.
It's handy to have, that's all.
I agree, but we don't have quotes yet. So in the absence, we can decide whether we hold that value. And give me 1 second because I did try to get one last update from Superintendent. From Phil Stevens, the superintendent, that well, yes. So I had asked him about the roof projects that we had carried over. They were approved. There were lines 5 through 7 in your spreadsheet. Those were values from 2 years ago when it was in the plan. Prior to all of the new information, the onboarding the school building committee, those quotes would now be dated and probably based off of more reimbursement rates. So I asked Phil, largely because it is showing as a hold on the account balance for the school reserve fund. I suggested that we close out those projects, and if a roof project comes back, it would be reopened as a new submission with new pricing and new grant. This way, it's not reflecting as a draw from this capital reserve fund for projects that may or may not happen. I think it's just going to need to be confusing. We did not have concern with that. So, when we get down to the fund balance summary, the projections, that'll clean that up. It's reflecting less than the $3 million and change or whatever it is that's in there currently. I don't have updated balances for you. But
just on that, Jim, I did work with Sherry this afternoon to see if we could get our way through it.
she
But
didn't know.
she did, okay, yeah, we did try to, but there's too many layers of things she's learning. At the same time, and that was sort of, that area is a whole new branch.
Mhm.
So we'll get there soon.
All right. Yes, so I did meet with Sherry in the business office yesterday afternoon. I think it drove more questions than answers. In trying to figure out how Donna approach. Basically, what the goal is to provide, if you look at the sheet two, what we're trying to get is an accurate projected balance as of June 30th of this year based on projects that have been approved. This hasn't been rolled forward, so our year one is actually our current fiscal year on the sheet. Okay. So what we're striving for is at the end of year one, as of July 1st, 2026 line, we need that projected balance to be accurate. So that we know what we're anticipating being in the fund balances at the start of our next fiscal year, so that we can figure out how much spending how much available capacity we have to the fund. So she is going to have to reach out to Don. It sounds like, I do not think they're going to get this information, or Sherry did not seem to think she's going to be able to provide this by Tuesday, as we discussed yesterday. So when we have that, I will incorporate it. We will do our best to guess. Like I can track through a lot of this stuff based on assumptions. It just won't be 100% accurate until we get that data, and then we can make that final call once we have it. So just be advised, that is a big open question.
I have a question. When you talk about closing the roof projects, what happens to that money?
That
Sitting in that vault.
it just, so now it's just a, what I'm looking for.
Earmark.
Thank you. It's an earmark. So it reflects in our balance as an earmark, basically. So that $3 million is reduced, that is in that account. What we show is an available balance of 2 million and change, because those roof projects were, what's the word I'm looking for when you've committed to something? Allocated? No.
Encumbered.
Encumbered, thank you. We were gonna get there. It's been a long day. It kind of shows up as encumbered. So, meaning it can't be spent. What we're trying to do is release that encumbrance, because those projects, as it currently stands, will only happen if
Right.
something else happens. And if I think the goal being that I think the school building committee is going to want to know what the actual balance is in that account, and everything, including people in town, should understand what we're looking for as work advances towards some other.
I really know I should know the answer to this, but so that 1.2 and the 850,000 are from that like shock absorber savings
Correct.
account? Okay.
Yeah, that's what it was
Alright.
being pulled from, which is the same funding that the school building committee is probably going to be looking at for a future school.
I don't remember that, I don't remember
So that was
those roof projects.
it was requested it was 3 years ago. So when the prior school project.
I remember the roof projects. I don't remember them specifically being taken out of that account.
That
like
first year after when the first school project didn't pass a few years back, the roof projects came on as a capital repair, and that was the request that came through before. All those got held and carried in year one, assuming that the reserve fund we had at the time there was also some HVAC work that was being discussed as a part of
Right,
that whole
right, right,
process. So
okay, all right.
that's where those came from. They are in the conception that they were submitted. The Phil and the Board of Ed have not renewed those requests. So we're just carrying them because they were technically approved 2 years ago. But without further action by the Board of Ed and the Board of Finance, they're just sitting there as a draw. So, so that'll clean that balance up. And,
Make a big difference.
you know,
Jim, just procedurally, how are we, how are we getting that resolved?
I have an email discussion with Phil as of today.
Yeah.
Once, the way we did it previously was that correspondence I went to Don at the business office, and
Right.
just financially close it out.
Right.
I don't know what that process, I will do that same process with Sherry.
Yep.
And just,
And once we know it gets to that point, even in our own math, we can change the calculation.
it's already gone on my sheet right now.
Right. So we can change the calculation to see the more accurate fund while the backside is
Correct.
catching up.
Yeah, so the plan can capture it the
Yep.
way it's intended while the business office, sorts through whatever they do in their system,
Yeah.
which was clearly beyond me when I was discussing that.
Yeah.
You know, that's,
No, we're making a lot of progress there, but we're definitely behind the 8 ball, and, Sherry is doing well, but she has a steep hill to climb.
yep, it's all hands on deck. So, all right. So with that said, guys, how do you want, that's all the background and updates we have. Now, the job, I think tonight is to really evaluate based on the department interviews where we feel these projects should shift or move, or what we want to do with the various projects. Understanding that if you go to the second page of your sheets, where you have line 88, understanding that as submitted and as this sheet currently captures it, there was a local spending total of $1,587,000 last year.
Yeah.
That jumps to 2.5 this year. So that is $1 million that is going to impact. That's local spending. That is budget impact, which we need to, which wouldn't have been that dramatic without the cuts last year, but it's still going to be dramatic.
It's a taxpayer.
Correct.
It's a taxpayer.
So, and some of that is, you know, again, that's the balance we want to try. We try to avoid these jumps from year to year, and that's been the methodology. And then we get to budget deliberations and it's gone backwards the past couple of years. So we have a big jump again. And I think we do the best we can to mitigate that based on what we do on these projects. Not just for year one, but also heading into year 2, 3, and 4 as well. Do we want to just go down the line?
Yes, let's go down. the
Take
line.
one at a time?
That's how we,
With the exception, I'm gonna reserve, I'd say we wait on the annual transfers 3 and 4 until we kind of get through the list, quite frankly, because that is gonna be more related to fund balance.
yes.
And we'll see where we fall. All right. Lines 5 through 7, we just talked about, those are gonna be, eliminated or closed from our list. I will note them as closed.
Jim, you don't have an extra of the paper version.
Oh, you do?
Because-
Sorry.
Thank you. It's not on the screen. Thank you.
Okay, so next up, which is new for this year, is the utility terrain, the UTV. Which was a new request by the Board of Ed in conjunction with emergency services for $50,000 for UTV for snow removal and other uses. It is a year 1 ask right now.
So in my opinion, I'm gonna say if they want to keep it, it's gonna have to get, I think we should push that out a few years because it's gonna be based on how much additional sidewalks and stuff for that. If a new school does happen, or then we can revisit that after that. I don't think I have a problem giving that line item less for snow blowers to make it easier for them to remove snow. But I don't think a UTV is necessary with our schools now. Or we push it out and they deal with what they deal with now.
I think that, I have a little bit of a conflict, I guess. I'd love to have some more conversation. I don't want to have more conversation, but I'd love to have the fire department and Phil have more conversation about an appropriate vehicle with Public Works. Like to have that conversation collaboratively, and so that the people who do this every day have some feedback for equipment that might be more relevant to the school. And I haven't, even in all these deliberations, I've not heard like a big ask from the fire department for this. Like, yeah, we're really on board with this and we could really use this. I think that would make a difference for me. Although I'll stop after this. Jeremy, I agree with you. I think they do need something, but I'm not sure that this is.
I don't think it's the correct thing.
I don't have any idea. So I'm just saying, like, there definitely needs to be different / new equipment. I'm not sure that this is.
From my perspective, I agree with everything that he's just said. My bigger concern was that it didn't feel like it was even fleshed out between the Board of Ed and the fire department.
Yeah, it didn't seem like
what they needed. But also, no, I mean, that was really what's driving it for me. I think there's definitively a need there, particularly when we have a winter like this. I just don't think it's developed enough to be a year one ask.
Right, that's
understanding.
Yeah, I think the,
I'm tempted to say if we put it to year 3 or 4, like year 3, just to keep it there as a placeholder, because I think that's eventually it may be a need with whatever happens with the school or whatever, if we renovate the new or whatever. I mean, I'm not worried to allocate $10,000. That's $5,000 a snow blower. I mean, you can buy a pretty decent snow blower for that, and I think it would be sufficient enough.
I do think part of what they're looking for also is some reduction in wear and tear on the employees that are doing the snow removal at the school. I think they've been using up and wearing out a lot of employees. I know as of this morning, they have only one janitorial type employee that is cleared to do snow removal. Based on medical conditions or injuries or not yet trained or a multitude of different reasons. And I'm not saying that's a reason it should be in year 1. I'm just saying I think that's also part of the story. So maybe this is one of these things where not only would it maybe consider pushing it out, but maybe a communication comes back from this committee saying, hey, here's the concerns we've been talking about tonight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have an idea of how this will work with a potential new school. Like maybe the potential new school, all the sidewalks are gonna be 1 foot wider. And so they should buy something with a plow that's 1 foot wider. I don't know.
Right.
What is can we get some information from the fire department, what their intended use is? Cause we don't have much information, right? Like we said, from the fire department.
And we still haven't heard a whole lot from, I know there's a stopgap plan, possible refurbishing of Wellington 1 on 32. But there's still a whole lot.
Stations.
There's still a whole lot of questions
On that.
on that project as well. So I mean, if right now it would be convenient because they're kind of co-located.
Yeah.
But if we're gonna have buildings on opposite sides of town or not so close together, it wouldn't make much sense to share
Out of the two
piece of
departments.
apparatus.
Yeah. Right.
There's just a lot of them, I guess.
I don't know what, I do think that maybe that in that communication, we ask them I talk about it, like I'm not on the board, but we asked them what, they might use to replace the tractor that is there now, because that is not something that is helpful and has required a lot of repairs, so.
And I believe we asked for like the list of repairs and pricing for it, so we can judge on that when we met, when you did say that. If I remember right.
Yeah, I don't believe
I
it.
don't remember seeing anything. I could have missed it, but I don't remember seeing anything.
Bill
Board
did,
packets had something in it.
Bill did follow up with a photo of the UTV they were kind of considering.
Yeah, but nothing on like the
I
base of
don't remember
the
there
maintenance, yearly maintenance cost of the tractor.
No, I think it might have been in there. Give me one second.
I think it was
In that
I
email.
wanna say it was something like $2,000 to $3,000 a year or something on maintenance for that thing.
Which you could probably replace the tractor for.
Exactly, like at this point here, it's just.
And that
diminishing
alleviates the wear and tear, cause, I mean, I wouldn't, but I could drive a tractor,
returns.
so. Probably don't have to.
I will continue to look for this. Sorry, there's,
No, I mean, it's not like we're both on a plan tonight. We can revisit this next week,
yeah, I mean,
just for the sake of moving on, you know what I mean?
yeah.
I think pushing it out is definitely.
Keeping
it on there, but pushing it out.
I agree with that. I would at least push it to year 2029. It would be my.
I'm just gonna add my 2 cents again. I think there needs to be something in that, like, there needs to be some consideration for some kind of different equipment for them.
So,
In year one, you're saying?
Yes.
And now this is my ignorance on, because this is my first time. Can something like this be split up? Can we say, okay, you get X amount of this request in year one and X amount in year three?
the request is for 50. Yes, we can modify, we reduce the board we can make recommendation to reduce it, in the plan. What we can ultimately capture in the plan is what it is. It only is, the only thing that hits the actual budget is year one.
Yeah.
So if we're moving it out a year, adjusting the value doesn't help. It doesn't matter one way or the other. If we're only adjusting it because we don't have the information, or, you know, if there's a lack of information to validate the request, my recommendation would be to just move the value. What can also happen is, I mean, if it's not in the plan in year one, as is the case often, while it wouldn't be a CIP funded request, they can always go to the Board of Finance for a more emergent need. I'm not saying that's necessarily the way to go with this, but I don't know how to say, okay, we don't think this is the right answer. What value? Like, I'm not.
Yeah, I don't know
feel
what a
comfortable
value would
signing
be.
a dollar value for a project.
Depot.com, whatever, I don't know, but, yeah, I think it would be great if there could be some, like, quick collaboration between,
I think we push it out a year and then we will quit.
So what I'm
And
gonna,
then revisit next week.
so what I'll
Maybe we'll
suggest,
get some other feedback.
what I'll suggest is we'll push it to year two with the direction that I will send a message to Superintendent Stevens, basically saying these are our concerns with the request as it stands. Are there any other alternatives being considered? At what price point? Because the UTV doesn't, at this point, rise to the level of justification that we feel it's year one, but we know there is a need there, and we can reevaluate it if that happens in our time period.
I think that sounds fair.
All right. You can have these up there. And then we can decide where that goes. The other thing I should mention, Jason, I think I gave fund balance summaries at the start of this season too. I can update it. I know I did. but we will have to decide what funds these things come out of at some point in time, whether it's low SIP, whether it's hit to the selectmen's budget, whether it's capital reserve fund. I don't know where that's gonna fall yet, so we're gonna leave it blank for the time being, and I'm just gonna go ahead and highlight that. And you wanna pick a color, Jen?
No,
I'm gonna highlight things in orange. I haven't done
well,
that
if
yet.
I had picked it in pink, so.
I was thinking that.
Really?
Yes.
All right.
That's
Now
amazing.
there's some collaboration right there.
Synergistic.
Okay.
Big words.
I know.
I will follow up on the UTV. Next up is the school building committee line items. We have a line for the school building committee, and we have lines for, that we're projecting last year for a potential school project at the best data we had at the time. And we were projecting it like a no payment in year 2. And then anticipating a bond payment for a summer school project in years 3 and beyond. The reality of that is that a lot has changed since then. So for starters, there are no requests from the school building committee. That would be a capital reserve request. So that is 0. That is just going to be sitting there. We can. How is this? So when I'm trying to use the emergency services facilities building committee as an analog there, that came out of Fund 04. That's why we're tracking it. School building committee is not. So that would not have any bearing unless the school building committee were to come back with a request. So quite frankly,
Yeah, so you
I don't
have
think the
it because
committee-
you're showing it as financed.
oh no, sorry, the request is for Fund 04. The projects. So we will,
Okay, yeah, because there is a FO4 next to,
yeah.
well, yeah, no,
Well, no, that's what the ask
it's
is.
not in that line.
That the town meeting next week is for funds.
Yeah.
So it will not be in, it's not an ask that is going to show up as a new request, I guess is what I'm trying to figure out how to.
Okay, yeah, so, I'm mixing things up here.
Mhm.
You're talking about the operational money for the committee.
Correct,
Okay.
for starters.
I was
jumped-
still looking at the financing
I
for
jumped,
the
that is
project.
my apologies.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
so
right.
Like
operationally for the committee,
Which would be line 10, right?
which line 10, so
Yeah,
realistically,
okay, sorry.
there is no ask. But there will probably be, if it passes at town meeting, there will be a prior approved value of
So
100.
there is no ask because it's not in the capital plan. It wasn't submitted to the capital plan. It's
Correct.
essentially outside the plan.
We just have to track the value as a draw from the fund balance in Fund 04, because that's how it's being funded.
Well, so what would happen is that would be in current fiscal year,
Correct, yeah, so we'd
Yeah.
be carrying.
and then so that money is,
I thought that was coming out of.
yeah, because that is coming out
It
of,
is.
that is coming out of 04, right? Right, okay, yeah.
So I think it'll show up if it gets approved.
It'll show up as
It'll
if it's
show
a
up as
previously
prior
approved
item,
project.
And then that'll come out of the draw, so we can track it as a Fund 04, and I don't have that.
Right.
But I will.
So in the, even when things don't show up in the plan, but they're draws on the funds, when you go to the separate page that, you know, we usually have the separate page
Yeah.
with the fund balances on it, it would show in there
Correct, that's.
as an encumbrance, if you will, for that
Yeah,
fund.
it would show up on
balance.
this.
Right.
this page.
Not,
Yeah.
not the,
I had to
but
think.
just the amount that's being approved. Or that's up for vote on Tuesday.
Yeah, the 127, whatever, right, because the other money came out of earlier closed projects,
And
which,
is-
yeah.
Is out of this.
Can we call it 04A and 04B?
meaning,
Meaning, so we have regular
Yeah,
04,
yeah, so what is, yeah,
Oh, I get what
which
you're
is
saying.
like, you know, the regular
general
stuff.
reserve,
Yeah, general reserve, and then there's
Fund 04, which
B.
is projects,
which is the school building,
projects.
you know, reserve. Just because we keep,
oh, because we have
We get-
called this out as being unique.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't know why we didn't just call it 05.
Because
Well, because you have to create a
It's
new fund
different.
in the software, yeah.
Be-
And
my understanding, is it's not a separate fund, it's just tracking.
Right,
Yes.
So it's all.
It's like there's a purchase order against that. It's
Right.
encumbered. Yes.
So it was never made a separate account.
yeah,
Which probably should have happened.
yeah, there was a reason why though, Donna didn't wanna do it that way, I don't remember the reason, but we get confused talking about it, and then the
Yes.
public's gonna be confused too, so
So
we just give it its.
that's fine by me.
I don't.
All right, so I will. Trying to think the best way to do this. I will ask the question of Sherry. I don't want her to think it's an immediate request to create a new fund. But I'll ask the question of her to see if she sees a better way to track it and we can incorporate. I actually have someone coming in on the 20th for a half a day who is very fluent in the software we use.
Oh, good.
Who's gonna spend the afternoon, and it is a municipal finance person.
Mhm.
And is gonna spend the afternoon with Sherry, shortcuts, better ways to use the software, whatever, to help her for an afternoon. So, everything we'll get more fluidity as we go along. So, all right, I'm gonna queue up an email to her and pose the question and see.
Mhm.
I just don't want her to go, oh my God.
In the interim, I was trying to find the dollar value, so 127,388.01 is the,
So you'll put that in here? Jim, is what you're
if
saying?
it passes on Tuesday, then that is the
Okay.
draw on the account, so.
But it'd be in prior approved, right?
Correct, yes, it would be in row H, column H, excuse me. And it would show up as a value of 127,388.01. Or 388, because we round. All right, so the next two, so that we will resolve. Or we'll get resolution on as of next week.
I'm writing an email right now.
Okay, the next two lines, 11 and 12, are a note and a bond. They were split up in the spreadsheet for a potential school project. The reality is there's no point in projecting because by June 30th, we'll either have a project or we won't.
Are you talking about line 15?
I'm talking about lines 11 and 12.
Yep, that's what I meant, sorry.
That's so we were carrying a projecting, because at the time when we prepared this last year, it was whatever that 79% reimbursement rate, for the best available cost data that we had from the Board of Ed's consultant at the time. That is all going to change. In my opinion, there's zero value in projecting anything because it's just going to, again, lead to confusion.
Correct.
Following after the plan development this year, we will, I expect, if it passes, we would have a detailed draw summary and payment schedule that this plan would aid to reflect. That's going to be prepared by others as if the town votes to approve a
So
bond.
you're saying take 11 and 12 grade up all the way across?
The values for it, yes, I think there's,
Because they're really, you don't know what those new values will be.
correct, yeah, and they're not gonna be that, and they're probably gonna be a multi-year, no payment, roll
Yeah.
one thing into, it's gonna be some very complex.
Yep.
But we'll have,
We'll have other experts
we'll
to
be
figure that out
provided
for us.
with people way more financially, adept than we are, I hope, to figure that out.
Not,
So, but what would so no placeholder even?
So I think what we should do is maybe call it pending referendum,
we'll leave the line in there,
and leave
right?
a line in there or leave a single line in there for future school projects, just as a placeholder.
But but the math, there's no point in even doing that out years. If you don't have,
Correct, yeah, no, there's no value to it, I think it's just
yeah,
pending.
yeah.
And then next year, that will be a more detailed
Yeah,
draw schedule, if it passes, if the town decides to move a project forward.
Yeah, and I think really, by the time this committee starts meeting, I mean, no matter what happens for meetings in the summer, when this starts really starting getting into the fall, the normal CIP season, we'll have way more information on all that stuff. So, building the next season, the next plan, we should be have very detailed information then.
If something moves forward, we would. So,
would there be, just in your experience, Jim, in these kind of projects, if the, let's say the referendum passes this summer, the application goes in, we're moving the process forward, we're now going to engage the AE services and potentially the OPM for the second phase. Should we be budgeting for that?
now that should be roped all into your project budget costs.
Right, okay, and it would be reimbursable, so it's going to be a fraction of the total cost anyway.
Correct, similar to what was done in the last school building committee projections. Part of the project budget that is reimbursable is architecture, is soft costs.
So then how does that actually start to get paid at that point? Because wouldn't you in the next fiscal year need some, whether it's a note or whatever, you need some funding source?
There would be a note, and that I think, and I'm speaking because I'm familiar with the school building committee.
I've seen you at a lot of their meetings.
I know. My hope is that the committee can onboard a municipal financial consultant to look at the available funding we have, save and reserve, and the various opportunities for leveraging that over a multi-year payment schedule. It's probably going to be a note, 4 notes over the course of. My guess would be it's
a series of notes before you get to the.
And there's multiple ways of doing that. They can roll that into the bonded costs. It just kind of carries in, and you're only paying interest. Out of. It's well beyond my skill set. But
it should all be within the next fiscal year. We shouldn't need to find money more than what is already set aside.
To the best of my current knowledge, that is my expectation.
Right. Okay. I just want to kind of say that all out loud because if we have money set aside,
that is up for the committee to figure out.
Right. I just want to make sure that we kind of played this out, because as we go through this budget season, the conversations from the public even will be, well, what if we go forward with a school? You have nothing in the capital plan. How are we going to pay the architect, or whatever?
Well,
so I'm just kind of trying to process it out loud and understand it, and so I can answer that question.
And that's what the school building committee consultants will have to onboard, because there'll be the construction budget, and then there's the project budget.
Right. Well, and then all of the OPMs seem to have offered some amount of fiscal professional support in their packages. So I guess that's where we start.
Yeah, no, they'll be responsible for helping us put together a project budget, because we need somebody to understand how to make the money work. We got a business. Yeah. So I think it's well beyond what we're going to address here. I think over the next 3 or 4 months, we should have hopefully the school building committee will have a better picture of what that looks like.
I just want to make sure we don't have to go to the townspeople in August and say, oh, we need money, which I don't think we will. No, someone's going to ask the question and I need to figure out how to answer it.
Not to my knowledge, between now and June, there's zero chance we're going to be spending any more than is there just even time to cover anything.
Right. No, I'm thinking after July 1.
I guess what I'm thinking is how, when this plan gets presented to the town though, which will be in April, May time frame, how is it gonna make, like how can you justify the 1.225 million
without a draw?
Without sort of showing what's gonna happen in the out years, why you need it.
We will have no way of knowing what that is before the plan goes through the budget process. We can, besides the fact that it's known, and I guess the explanation that goes with the CIP plan presentation.
Yeah, that's really,
what we can do, and maybe since these were always placeholders put here by the CIP committee, I think we just have a single line that is, pending referendum as a project item for consolidated school project, pending referendum, whatever. And that way it's there. There's a discussion point on it. There's no draw on it because the town has to approve that before there's any spending.
Yeah, and as you said in the cover letter, you explain, you can just say line 12 or whatever it is means this.
And we can speak to that when we present this before Board of Finance, when we present it at town meeting. And all
Yeah.
that. I'm sure.
I think
there will
it's
be
better
questions.
to do it that way than to just make up numbers, because
Yeah.
that's like, even if it's the best guess, it's still gonna be wrong.
Correct, yeah, and it's only gonna muddy and further confuse everybody's.
Yeah.
That's the number you said last time.
Right.
Yeah. And we'll get that question now, and the answer is we were projecting placeholder values based on the best available information at the time, when the plan was developed a year, or 13 months ago, whatever.
20 years.
So, all right, so I will address. Nope. Let's delete it, have the spreadsheet. That would have been bad. All right. So does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me make sure you're in the same. All right. We will keep going till you guys get tired or bored of this. All right, so next up is the other major building committee project. So line 14 is the funding for the Emergency Services Facilities Building Committee that is previously approved. There is no additional request for funding currently before them. Last year, we thought this was moving potentially faster than it is now, and we were carrying a major construction project starting, or development of a major construction project starting in the next fiscal year. That is not happening based on all of the information, and we're probably several years out. Or my best guess, and that's just my personal opinion. I don't think they have a better understanding of where that fits just yet, because it's too fluid. We have to move with these. I think projecting something, this is our best guess, because it's still the best information we have for these values.
Yeah, I would definitely not have, as much as I would like there to be something available. It's not fair to the town, to the process, to the plan, to just keep holding money as the committee moves at the speed it's moving.
Well, this isn't actually holding money. That was going to be a direct budget hit as a capital outlay.
Right. But I mean, in a planning way, holding money in the plan, I think, in the next year is, unfortunately, the committee is, despite urging, the committee is not ready.
You take that whole thing, just move
Plunk it out a year.
I think we plunk it.
pick it up and just move it a year out.
I think we can move it a year for now. I personally think they're probably going to be closer to 2. Unless there's some other interim project, but I am happy with one.
There could be another potential thing coming down,
Yep.
right, with whatever's gonna go down on the river road there.
Yeah. Yes, and that will also not be a CIP hit. That'll probably be some separate, unless it happens in the next month or two and the request comes in and we can adapt to it. It is, a likelihood.
No, you're talking about line 16, right?
15.
So 15 and 16, we're pushing them both out a year.
Yeah. Yeah, for this year, there's nothing in 16, but in next year.
There is.
This is nitpicky.
Shoot, go for it.
Column A, can we just change that to fiscal year 25-26 instead of 15-16? Or was it actually requested fiscal year 15-16?
It was actually requested fiscal year 15-16, right?
Oh.
Not to be nitpicky, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I thought that was just.
No, it's a lingering.
Comment.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
It's not lingering as long as Village Hill Road yet.
okay.
I just have a question about the 306,000. Was that a request or that was just an estimate of the payment?
That was a prediction they need something,
It's a very specific number.
I think we were,
It was,
Last year, I
it
think
was
they had a,
formulated.
it was formulated based on, I think how,
Whatever the percentage of 7.5 million is.
yeah, no, I think we carried it, and this was, again, this is our placeholder tracking. If I recall, the Board of Ed had they had run some numbers at some
Yes,
point.
they had
for a
a-
potential school project that basically did the same structure
Okay.
for a major project.
Yeah, so right, we used the number they had, because they had talked to a bonding agent
Correct.
and gotten that number.
So we used that information, the way he had it, basically half the value as a note in year one, and then the rest of the balance bonded as year two. So we did a similar structure for projected planning, which is where those numbers came from and where those values came from. So based on the bonding agent's costs, we just scaled it to a $15 million project.
I have another question and possibly this is gonna be controversial, but I'm gonna ask anyway. The $200,000 that's sitting in the emergency services facilities building committee that's not gotten spent yet because nothing has happened.
Yeah, it's down to 160, right?
Yeah, they've encumbered.
Oh, from the
40,000.
study that,
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah, and we've actually paid most of those. There's one invoice left to pay on that.
Yeah, it's about 160,000 committed thus far that they have not made any requests to pull down, but they have it available because it's approved funding from the plan. It just has to, any further requests, they have to go before Board of Finance and ask for release of that funding, and I believe at town meeting like they did for I think they went to town meeting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Should we think about starting a shock absorber account for them? I mean,
Yes.
we should have a couple years ago, but. I mean, the numbers are almost the same.
Well, in that case, we would, leave the 306,000 in there, 308, whatever.
Well, no, that's technically a payment. So what Christine is saying is like we did for the school funding, a transfer to capital reserve for a fire station project.
Which could just be an addition into, line 14, just to, I don't know, push the 306 out a year, but put some amount of money into the account to help build it up.
Well,
We can't do $1 million, we can't do
440.
anything. Easily,
so
but,
so that logistically, I have more of a problem with that, largely because it's giving funding for the committee to advance its work, not
Yeah.
necessarily reserving.
right. So it would have to
So
be,
it's just putting money in account, and like, I think there needs to be a defined plan before we're just,
yeah, so we would need a fund 04C if we were gonna do that.
04F for fire stations, 04S for school building.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
that's better.
in favor of that. I don't know how it fits into this puzzle yet, but that's our
Yeah.
potentially job, to see where that falls and how much.
Maybe you
we
can
need to
ask
get.
the person who's doing the school building, what they think about that.
this fun, sorry.
I mean, the municipal finance person, how would you hypothetically finance a fire station?
No, well, so, yeah, I mean, that was a consideration we're going towards one way or the other, because there is going to be a project.
Yeah, I mean-
Hopefully developed at some point.
and part of this plan, part of the purpose of this plan is to communicate the
Big
whole
picture.
picture and the actual problem here, which,
Continues to be a problem every
that
year.
like, kind of drives the point home of like, we don't have this money saved, and
So I mean, that's a discussion we have to have with the community, similar to what, and the Board of Finance question, so,
Yeah, I mean, if we suggest that there's a payment a payment, I don't mean a payment, like a savings account started, whatever. Then that becomes a conversation. It's not just something that,
Right.
the famous saying, kick the can down the road, well, deal with it next year. Well, next year's here and then.
Yeah.
So what if you did, how about this for an idea, because this has the potential to, again, load the cost up. The school building committee, the school building potential project is certainly way ahead of the fire station as far as planning and productivity and all that. So the goal has been attempting to put at least $1 million away each year towards the school, right? So what if you, so this coming fiscal year, year one, would be the last year we'd be putting $1 million aside for the school? Second to last. Okay.
If that all tracks.
Right, if it tracks to the schedule we think is happening. So then in year 3, do the $1 million towards fire stations instead. So you're still $1 million each
But
year.
that $1 million goes towards the bond payment for the school in year 3. So we're still gonna need $1 million.
No, we may not. That's because we don't know where the
No.
funding is.
Oh.
5 million saved and a 93% reimbursement.
Mm.
We may not be carrying a big bond. That's something the school building committee, so that $1 million payment. We could be looking, it could be $1 million,
Mm-hmm.
it could be a library, or it could be nothing. It could be like a library, what we're paying for the library,
Yeah.
or it could be as little as nothing. That, it's very different
Mm-hmm.
from what this is.
So
Yeah.
year 3, it's year 3. You don't have a big commitment to year 3 right now. Why don't we start it right now for conversation in year 3 towards the fire stations?
Wouldn't be a bad idea.
But year 3, the fire stations need to get built, like.
Yeah, but if you have to go through if you have to just get past where we are on the committee and then get it to the people, have a discussion, and then get it to referendum, and then design and all these things, you're a couple years out before you can be taking out a bond or an obligation or a note or anything. You're a couple of years away.
Worst case
So-
scenario in year 3, that is the note payment and we're not paying, it pays down
Right.
the interest.
Or-
Just wind up funding.
1 year from
Yeah.
now, when we're having this meeting, we have new information that changes the scenario.
Yeah.
And then you can pull it up
You,
towards.
you could move it up if, like, let's just say we know the school is gonna hit the budget at whatever level.
Mhm.
And so we know now better, hopefully also what the fire department project might be. We can adjust a year from now.
Or you can take it down and then you could even take it down to 700,000 if you wanted to, whatever it may be.
Yeah,
It's not $1 million,
it just,
you don't get hit.
starting something. There's going to be a bond for that project. Some capacity. I have no idea what it's going to be, but, it's still much like the school project, anything we can do to blunt,
Yeah.
the severity of that
Yeah.
makes it.
Right, and at least for planning purposes, you are blunting the severity because you're switching from $1 million to $1 million just for a different target. Again, just as a planning exercise, okay, just as a planning exercise. So you're not putting a big jump in the plan.
So it works that way this year. It will change if we have school, like a drawdown or a bond payment schedule. Then we'll start to see what that picture is for the school and how that. I do suspect that a large part of that money is just gonna go away and not hit the budget. If a project gets bonded, or needs to get bonded. It's still too early to tell.
And
I am optimistic and hopeful.
and
Yes.
so
And that's
like,
what the committee has to work for, because it's gotta be approachable to the town, right? So,
there's gonna be other costs, so like center school, the roof still will have to be done, because we still will own it. Right?
yeah, it's not gonna
Like-
stop.
There's gonna be other things that we have to spend money on. So,
Unless the town.
Unless we
decides-
demo it on our pool or so.
Unless the town.
Yeah, we
decides
just
that
don't know where
Lisa
those-
is
those
the
conversations
they're
haven't happened yet.
responsible for it.
mhm.
And as much as I wish we would have all of that information, and I hope we would have much more information, I think it's our preparation this season.
Yeah.
We're just.
Think of how much more we're gonna know next year.
Yeah, we're gonna so much.
How many more on those?
No more, no more, Joe.
Raining on my optimism.
Um,
Stop being realistic.
I guess, like, the one thing we know though is that we have to do all these things and that it's all gonna be expensive and we have not saved nearly enough. And that we probably should float that idea that there should be some, we should, everybody should understand this already, but they don't. And so, this is the way,
well, and then that's gonna be.
It's called the conversation starter.
yeah,
And that's, I mean, that's gonna be the conversation point again, because that's the
Yeah.
funding, that's, you know, as a transfer, that hits the budget, and the reality of that saving and the intensity of it is going to be a
So,
conversation point.
For the sake of moving this conversation along for tonight anyway, can we just
Yep.
start in year 3 with so year 3, 4, and 5, we'll put the $1 million towards the fire stations? We can change it, 10 minutes from now if we don't like it, or we can change it
Yeah.
next week.
Fundo for
Oh, for
dash
C.
fire.
Fire. Oh, for C.
yes, the fire fund.
Fire department. FYA, fire station budget.
Never.
So you're gonna get rid of like line 16 and that's or 15 and just use that?
No, because
Or you
that
add?
is projecting
Right,
to the best that we know. And if, I mean, common cause, it might make sense to push the $1 million transfer. Like if we say we're gonna provide $1 million or whatever it is, $1 million, let's say $1 million for the start. We'll see how that all looks out. And that is
So that becomes like your new line 5 basically and pushes the spreadsheet
Correct.
down,
It'll
right?
push it all
Because that's an
down.
annual transfer.
great.
Yeah.
What I would suggest, because we're not gonna pay for a note and then start saving after the note, is maybe the line. Oh, shoot, I added the line. So line 15 and 16 on your sheets, go to year 3, 4, and 5. So the note payment in year 3, similar to what we're saving, and we can adjust those lines.
Yes, that'd be fine.
I understand. It doesn't have to be that way, but it's best guess at this point, and I don't see there being a new fire station bond or construction project prior to like developed to the point where we have construction drawings to the point where we're bonding and have no payments towards something. I just don't see it in a year.
I believe you're correct.
I mean, it's been a year, we don't have this study yet, so.
Yeah.
I'll hold this up. You can put it right into my eye.
All right. Well, that was a good discussion. I think that's enough for that line. Anything else? Nope. All right, let's continue on with emergency services then. Sorry, I'm gonna try to mentally take a number off of this because I added a line. So 18 and 19, those are committed payments already. All right. We have,
There's nothing else for this year in that.
so, oh yeah, I was thinking public work. They didn't have too many new requests. The big one is the replacement of the Rescue 149, line 27. In year 2, that's the one that 1.2 million, we're gonna pay half of it out of 117, and then I don't think that changes.
It
It is, but we're basically we're paying half of it directly
In a
one-time
cash-
payment,
in a
and
cash
financing
chunk.
the rest.
Yep.
Because otherwise there was not enough available capacity to finance it.
Yeah, and I know we looked at last year, we looked at what they were getting a yearly,
So,
to make sure we were good.
I'm gonna go back to lines 21 and 22, Mike. Those are the survey of old farms and the design and engineering. Those are requests from the fire departments for that property.
Yeah.
We talked about it last year. We carried it a year. I am still very much of the opinion that these belong rolled up in the Emergency Services Facilities Committee as a new request by them. because they're the ones managing that project now. And that maintaining.
So, okay, so it is in the current,
It's the prior approved, because it was.
it's in this current fiscal year.
It is not. It was in the previous, it was.
I'm sorry.
Back.
Yes,
They're
I'm
many
sorry.
years old at this point. But
Yes.
they were.
Yeah.
Requests for an entirely different project at this point, or towards an entirely different project that is now being managed by the Emergency Services Facilities Building Committee in some capacity. There was a lot, I know there's discussion. I would like to see, it's a draw on Fund 04 at this point. It's similar to like the roof project at the school. It's a whole project that is not going to be done in that form or fashion.
Right, so similar to the roof discussion, that was going to be, like an email to Phil, right, to see if they.
It already has, I wanted to talk that, I didn't want to open that can of worms without talking to the committee first.
Right, but I mean, the intended the thought process was send an email to Phil and get some agreement on if that can be released.
It's
Closed out and released, and so this would be a similar thing, an email, whatever, should get sent to.
Yes, that was last year.
Dave Snyder.
Correct.
Asking, if that project can be released.
And it
I
does
thought
not.
that was, I thought we discussed this last year.
We did, and he wanted to keep it open one last year.
Right.
And again, the way it was relayed is it's a courtesy, it's whether or not, if it's off this plan, it can get closed by this committee without further action by the Board of Finance. As it was relayed by Donna last year.
Yeah.
But to my point, I'm saying if there is a need for survey services, it should be a request that we track as a new project under the facilities committee. And we can, if there is a need for a survey and engineering, let that committee make that request and we can capture funds for it. But I think just holding 110,000 out there in no man's land, because it's a request by the departments, it wasn't a request.
Yep. Understood. Yeah, it was requested by the departments before the facilities committee got off the ground. So, yeah, I mean, it certainly doesn't seem, despite the fact that I'm intimately involved in these things in like 6 different ways to Sunday, it doesn't seem like, from a practical point of view, the money's like, it's not getting spent right now. And so
That's where I'm
it's not in the purview of this committee, but I think it's a request that could be made because it helps this committee plan for the future.
What it does do, or what it would do, is it frees up 110,000 in the reserve fund that we can use.
That's exactly what I was saying. It helps this committee plan for the future by those funds being released. Yes.
As early as year one, even, if we're really, it's a way of potentially mitigating some of the million that we're seeing.
That the million hit that you outlined. That's hard.
Yeah.
That's where I'm coming from with it. Just strictly from a bean counter perspective on my end, it feels like it needs to move with the new direction that project is on. So I will reach out to Chief Snyder and Chief Moore and see.
Yeah, that's just Chief Snyder for the 25 Old Farms.
Yeah, because that's just Wellington.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. That's right. Because Fire Department 1 did release a similar request last year from the same line, but Chief Snyder didn't want to carry it for one more year. All right, let's see if that situation has changed. I'll see if I can reach out and have a better info for next week. Please. Sorry, just trying to make down the CIP number here so that I don't mess it up. All right, parking lot replacement, that's a carryover. Roof replacement 24 Old.
Hang on a second on the parking lot replacement.
Yes.
That's something that, we can work with, Sherry on and finding out what's left in that project, because the parking lot project is done. And I don't remember what the number was, but it wasn't quite the full 100. So there's something to be released. May not be a lot. But
Yeah, that'll go back to the general fund because that was in the selectmen's budget last year. So it doesn't affect our fund.
Oh, it's in 930. You're right. That little number's right there. 930.
Yep, as much as I'd love to say, oh, great, that's money, but it's not in this instance.
It just made me feel a little better. Because that goes into trying to solve some of my problems.
So the roof replacement is out year two. How's it looking for ice stamps?
Well, the next few days is really gonna tell as things warm up. It's not looking good at our house, so.
Sure.
He seemed to think that a request.
Last night.
Not like you good anywhere.
Yeah, I know.
What meeting was it we were on last night? School building, was it? What meeting were we on?
Oh, I was at Board of Ed, I don't know.
Oh, you were aboard it. I don't know. The last couple of nights when we've been, with school building committee Monday night, we were sitting there on the school building committee with the computer in front of us and pieces of sheetrock and joint compound were falling off the ceiling, hitting the floor next to us.
No,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, cause it came through, water came through a couple of days ago and then it dried up. It's not coming through anymore. But it damaged a bunch of the tape, the joint tape and stuff, and so now stuff from the cathedral ceiling is falling down on us.
Yeah, happened in our master bedroom. It just stopped dripping yesterday.
Brianna called it water feature.
The water feature.
I slept like a baby in there.
All right.
Anyway.
We digress.
We all digress.
So any need to update the roof replacement? It's a year two. They're gonna need it. I think it's one of those things, it's not a year one hit, so we leave it.
Yeah, Chief Snyder, when he was talking about it, was pretty convinced that it was a year two project. He wasn't alarmed that
And
it
if
was.
something changes with the development of some project, I mean, it's still a town
Yeah.
asset, whether or not that building remains as a fire department, so. All right, squad one for that, those are
Year ones.
year one, sign up.
Approved, sorry.
That's it.
That's current, fiscal year, and I believe they are working on that.
So barring any significant changes in the Fund 17 balance, which we won't have yet, I don't see any reason to change anything in there.
Nope.
Okay, good.
So let me, just air containment. That was
down on, the River Road on the.
That's the station down in the village. That was the exhaust system for the exhaust, the diesel exhaust.
Yeah.
Station 213, yeah, okay.
Which I have
And that's in
mentioned
current.
as an OSHA thing, that was
Yeah.
probably well
Yeah.
resolved. I don't know if there's a balance we need to
Alex.
chase with Sherry, but
Yeah,
Alex is on here.
he is.
There's a little bit of a balance left from that.
There's a giant Alex right in the middle of the screen.
better than a floating head, right? There's a little bit of a balance there, Alex, but that work is largely complete.
Yes.
Or is it complete? I guess it's
It will be hopefully by next week. They just got to wire one more unit.
all right. So can stay here until it's officially closed out. We'll close it out next year if it's not officially resolved this year. Thank you, Alex. All right, DPW. This is where we're gonna have fun. In moving stuff, and so we can skip lines 29 through 33 because those are previously committed. The mower has been purchased. That'll be one that Sherry should look at closing, whether or not we can close it out and release any balance for the 103, 150.
I think that was a pretty solid numbers.
I think
From what I remember.
Okay, so let's start with the heaters for starters, because that is kind of an isolated project and it is definitely a year one ask.
And I remember they were down 2 last year and they only had 2 this year. And the waste oil.
I think now he's down to 1.
They were down to none going into this winter. They were running just on the waste oil furnace. And then the waste oil furnace died in the middle of the weekend. They got the propane guy to come in and he said of the 4 units, there was one that was not terrible. And he got that one running. So there's one of the 4 propane units running and the waste oil furnace is running.
So when Troy was here last, we were talking with, I recall we had asked him to figure out,
What he wanted to do.
yeah,
I have not heard.
so.
I can follow up with Troy to see if there's an update for,
I hate to see that building freeze up.
there's something,
There definitely is something that needs to happen, but there needs to be a decision made.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like sooner than later, because as of right, from December to right now, we're like the dirtiest cold winter since like in 30 years. Up
So it can't be,
December to now, I mean, so
it can't be our urgency though.
no, I get it, but
Okay.
no, well, I mean, the request is in there, it's 25,000, I don't know if it's gonna be more than that to do some waste oil conversion to, conventional.
I mean, even if you do 4 Modine heaters, you're still right around that price.
Well, he has 2 larger ones for that price,
Right.
so.
Or you do.
I think there's a value there for it, one way or the other, I don't think we're gonna save.
I think we leave it,
Yeah, I agree.
because
Yeah,
I think it's important.
It's a critical infrastructure building.
I will see if there's any further update that we can massage
I
or
mean, because
adjust that number.
if the salt truck freezes up in the winter time, you gotta thaw that salt somehow, they do freeze up in the augers, so.
The concern though is not just necessarily, because when he came to talk to us, he talked about the waste oil
Convert,
possibly being an option to do it, update that, but then the cost to get rid of the waste oil that they're using right now is something that needs to be considered. So I'm fine leaving it in if this is what it's gonna be. But if it's not gonna be this, I think it's important that we understand what the ramifications are down the road.
I would say from my perspective, just from I had another meeting with Troy, and Heather this morning talking about budget. My druthers, my preference is that project would go forward with the 2 units.
and then,
And the waste oil furnace would probably stay waste oil only because we don't know what the, hazardous material cost is gonna be to get rid of the waste oil. So I think of the various different versions of the plan we've been hearing, I think this one that was the 2 units and retain the waste oil, to me, makes the most sense.
I agree.
So I would like to see it stay in the project, in the plan that way. And if it does change, then obviously we'll come back and have to talk about it, but.
I mean, I like the redundancy anyway, question.
I am highly like the redundant. If you come to my house, I have 4 different heat sources, so.
All right, so we'll leave that. So we have a couple of pieces of equipment, right?
Compact roller.
Compact roller. There was the loader and there was the dump. And they are all year one. The roller is new for this year. And minor frustrations with that aside.
So did we, I don't think I was here when he was here. I think I missed that meeting. I don't remember going back and watching. So let's say out of those 2, I know the dump truck, he requested the same year as the loader, right?
Yeah, he had a priority.
And what was, so that's exactly where I was trying to go. I don't remember what the priority is. I know last year we niched the truck and pushed it out of here, right?
All right, I got it.
Is what I thought.
We got updated numbers too, hold on. So priority was the dump, then the payloader, then the roller, in that order.
All right. That's kind of what I was.
And the loader was actually not 235,000. He got a new price of $215,693 minus the trade-in of $20,000 to $35,000 for a.
So is that like 180 something or?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's,
something?
if it's a year one, then we need to make a decision on that. If the loader was the second option.
That was, well, no, that loader was total would be 180.
215, so minus a trade-in of somewhere in the range of.
Well,
20 to
just go to the low
35,000.
side,
So.
right? Go to the low side.
190.
196.
So that's what we basically have that carried. Right, we got 194, 110 carried total. Or no, that's a 5 year.
No,
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's the line 40. It was so we're financing it. We finance those values will change.
That's your line 40.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's No, okay, yep, I'm sorry.
No, I'm doing that math in my
Yeah,
head. We got
no,
Mike.
no, that's my fault. Yep.
What was it, 194?
190.
Yeah, but the 5-year five-year cost is 194, 110. Would be the 5-year cost.
But it extends, yeah, you don't see beyond that in your sheet. There's another, that carries 2 more years of lease payments. It's a 7-year lease.
7, all right.
So there's $77,644 beyond that in the spreadsheet.
So basically it's 200.
Yeah. So what,
790.
so that financing, if we assume 196K, I will go back and change and update that lease payment based on what Donna uses, the calculator Donna suggested we use. It'll be less than 38,000. It'll still be a lease payment. If that makes sense. The question is, do we want that as a year one? I mean, we can leave it down and see what the numbers all fall out, but.
We can, because I would almost push, it's not that much money, but I would almost push the roller out a year and then leave the other 2. Since the roller, he said he could go out 3 with. Let's just see what that does for the sake of this exercise.
Yeah, I would definitely push the roller out.
$52,556 instead of the 65 for the roller.
All right, say it again?
$52,556 instead of the 65,000. And it sounds like we want to make that a year 2.
Yes.
And I am okay with that if everybody else is, because, if only because I want that to get comfortable with the request showing up for $65,000 without any warning.
I'd almost still carry the 65. It's gonna be another year out, I
And
don't
then
know,
they'll get a new price.
and they'll get a new price, and it shouldn't be over that.
I feel like there's something to be said for not having 2 big new vehicles in a year. Like, I hate to be that person, because I'd love to base it on need, but since we don't have a solid way to do that, like, there's no evaluation tool of mileage and wear and tear and reliability, sticking it all into some kind of spreadsheet and coming up with this vehicle's gonna last you for 2.5 more years. Short of that, I feel like if we were able to not commit, but like to have a friendly agreement that we were gonna look at 1 new vehicle a year. I feel like that's a reasonable way to approach this.
I think he's doing it with vehicles, this is a piece of equipment.
Well, there's a dump truck and a loader.
Right.
Aren't those
Dump truck
vehicles?
is a vehicle, a loader is a piece of equipment.
Yeah, but I think we're splitting hairs on that. That's not relevant. There are two, it's over $500,000.
It's 2 big pieces, which I
Yeah.
get, but then you start going up into their dump trucks, and I know that's what he tries to rotate. So you're doing 1 dump truck a year over the 10 years or.
It should be 1 every other year, though.
Yeah, we got
Yeah,
in years past, we had a dump truck a year for
like 3 years.
in a row.
And that was to catch up to the.
Yeah.
the-
So we're gonna wind up 6 years from now having.
The same issue.
Yeah, so they'll have to stretch. I mean, I think that's a future out-year plan consideration as.
I guess
requested.
what I'm concerned about, though, is we say that, we don't see any other dump trucks
I
in
was
that
just gonna
out
say,
years
there's
here.
nothing else on the.
Oh, they wouldn't hit this yet.
Yeah, that's what he said, because that's what happened now. There were so many in that, there were so many before, now there's this gap. And
Right,
then we're gonna crunch up into them again.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
yeah. So,
The problem is the way you solve that to spread them out is you either have to make them last a lot longer and maybe do more repairs.
yeah,
Or you have to buy them a little early to spread them out, which
Right.
means you're buying them early.
right.
You know, it's hard to get them spread back out.
The last year in our current plan?
30, 31.
30. We would,
You'd
On
catch
that
one.
schedule, we would catch the first one in
You'd
year
catch the-
4.
Yeah, you'd catch,
That's,
yeah.
that's what I was thinking. 'cause
Yep, the first
it seems
one
Like too big of a gap.
to replace the 2020 version.
And so then the question is, what other equipment are we gonna need in the next 3 years? That's the point of this plan. So now suddenly
So-
we have, I don't know.
So let me just get that right again. You were saying in year 4 of this plan,
Yeah,
there should be
There
another
should
dump
be a
truck.
dump truck that is not carried if he's trying to maintain a 10-year cycle.
So let's assume a 12-year cycle. Because that was when we started buying these more expensive dump trucks, heavier spec, those were predicted to be a 12-year cycle. That was part of the justification for the heavier duty trucks.
Okay,
So let's look at a 12-year.
I mean.
So
when are they
this,
looking to
the truck
replace
we're
the-
talking about in here is, hang on, I gotta get back to the right line again. So the truck we're talking about here is replacing a 2015. So if we went 12 years, that would be 2027. So that would be year 2 of this plan. I'm just saying for discussion purposes.
Mhm.
That would put this truck at year 2. And then
Which truck are you talking?
the one that's in the one that's in year 1 right
the
now.
dump truck.
If we moved it out to year 2, that would put it at 12 years. And then what's the next age of a truck?
It would go, a 2020 would be replaced in 2032, so outside the plan.
So it would be in year 6.
And there's a
basically.
2022 that would be replaced in 2024,
34.
34, excuse me.
So that would be 2 years apart, 32 to 34.
Yeah, whether
So
those.
it's every other year.
Is another story to get them at that point.
I'm just saying that starts putting the new trucks at every other year-ish instead of clumping them up 3 in a row.
Yeah, I'd like, there's 4 trucks, right? So.
There's 4 full-size.
Yeah, but, I thought there were 4 that he was rotating, but he has there are others
There's a.
that are.
There are 4 full trucks that belong to full-time employees, assigned to full-time employees that are used summer and winter. You know, those are the 4 plow routes that are being done by our own people.
Then you have one sub.
And then we have the contractor doing the 5th plow route, so they use their own truck.
Right, which, is he gonna continue doing it? If he doesn't, then that's when you need this truck.
Well,
He's gonna need a 5th truck.
This truck, yeah, a 5th truck, another truck.
This is
Yeah.
an additional truck,
No, I know, but,
yeah.
right, correct, I
Yeah.
get that.
well, so a 5th employee right now would end up doing would potentially, like if you had a 5th employee right now, as opposed to the contractor, that person would be using the spare, which is the one that they use for like school parking lots and all that other stuff. But that's an older truck.
But then,
So
then you have something that happens to one, then you're down a truck, as happened this year.
Well, I think based, like, to Christina's point, this is why we have this plan. I feel like we should work with Troy to figure out a sustainability replacement cycle for trucks. And if it's based on 12 years, that's great. Because there's not really any other metric. There's not I don't have any way to evaluate whether a truck is good or not. Unless it's like things are falling off it. I don't know.
I think staggering these or trying to start to stagger these more is a better approach. I think we gotta rely on the public works director's input on need to a certain degree. So I think it's best served to understand what sort of use that equipment is getting. But I also think there's a give and take. I mean, if we're telling them we're gonna stagger this out and the reason we're pushing this is, because we're trying to get on a cycle. And then when it starts showing up again, there has to be a commitment in this plan to actually fund it then and not push it out.
Yeah.
That's the second part of this, that very frequently when this becomes a lease payment that hits your budget or future selectmen's budget,
Right.
and people don't want to pay it, it's
Right.
the administration of the day.
Right,
It's like,
sure.
we can push that out a year.
Always happens, yeah. It happens, it's even the wins of this committee sometimes.
And then best laid plans go to.
Yeah.
the ground.
So the other thing that, Troy is doing, because these things are getting so expensive, is he is looking at, what the specifications are on, there's a, I don't want to say lighter duty, but not quite as heavy spec truck that DOT is using. You're seeing more and more of them now, the Ford, like F800, 700 or 800 truck. That is, the DOT is starting to use more and more. And so he's getting some information on what the cost difference is on that. So that there at least could be a conversation of, well, if we think that truck's only going to last 10 years or 9 years, where do the numbers work out? Does it make any sense to buy a less expensive, not as heavily spec truck? And how much does that reduced cost affect lifespan? So, you know, that could change this plan further. But I think for the moment, we're dealing with heavy spec trucks that were intended to last 12 years.
So he had also floated when he was in here that there was an alternative ask
Yeah, for a
for a
bigger,
10-wheeler, a bigger truck rather than
Yeah.
a 6
because then you could offset.
for 325,000 instead of 300 because it would double the load capacity
Yeah,
for salt and efficiency. I mean, that alone and the uncertainty of that, if that is being considered or a lighter truck, I think it's worth pushing a year and then let him flesh that out.
Right.
What do you think? So then the loader becomes year one, stays year one. Then we push the dump and the roller to year two. For the purposes of this plan, until we see how things shake out. Okay. I like that. Good. All right, what's left on this?
And then we should leave a question mark in year 4. At least a note for ourselves for now in the conversation, and I'll have the conversation with Troy. He'll probably call me in the morning and say, why did we move the dump truck out here too? And so, but us, me, whatever, there should be conversation about if we should be planning for a truck in year 4 or year 5 to keep from crunching up all the trucks again.
Well, if you push that truck out to year 2, then it's every other year again.
Right, that's what I was trying to
If
see.
you push the loader out, then maybe you can. You push it.
Yeah, but what we had was 3 in a row right together. We didn't have every other year. So that's what I'm seeing is, can we sort of break this up so we get a year's break in between?
Okay, I have a note.
I smell a Fund 04 DPW.
The 04 block in 04. Well, and I mean, to Jim's point, over the last few years, in the ideal world, instead of financing after purchase, we save pre-purchase.
Well,
Because you maybe gain a little interest on the money you have in your bank in quotes.
Yeah.
And you also don't pay financing charges.
Yeah, these are the type of things we can project for. We don't need a separate dedicated fund. That's what we have the reserve fund for. We just have never had an appreciable balance to be able to mitigate that.
Right.
Which is
Yeah, I
fine.
think the reason why people haven't wanted that is that there's no assurances the money's not gonna be used for something else.
Which goes back to the do you dedicate it?
Yeah,
04-DPW, right?
yeah.
I mean, to that degree, there does have to be a certain degree of, trust and security. And the fact that.
Well,
this
some towns
committee
do it,
did
some
that,
towns have reserve funds for like all the,
For everything.
DPW reserve,
I'm
so-and-so reserve.
I'm not saying this is like in town as a whole.
A lot of
Yeah.
towns, there's no budget, for example, if it goes unspent,
Yeah.
they put it into a snow fund that they can either use for trucks or for
Yeah.
bad winters when they need more salt or whatever, but if there's a big slush fund
So,
sitting
I
there,
think we should do that.
yeah,
where we don't do that.
right.
We don't do that.
Well, we definitely won't this year either, because we've,
But we've had some really good winters where we could have done that.
yeah.
Well, what about if we had like a Fund 17 for DPW trucks, like that kind of money would go into, and then it would just be there and collect interest, and then we needed a truck that would come out of there.
You get a fund. You get a fund.
That's right. Everybody gets a
one.
fund.
Ask the municipal guy.
No, I mean, that's a budget fluctuation question for the selectmen's budget, really, ultimately.
Yeah, I don't,
Because that's where it gets hit. You have a bad winter and you're screwed, and it hits tax, you know.
well, I mean, that's the situation right now. We're over now, on certain lines. But what that means in all likelihood is the balancing act in the current fiscal year is stuff that was gonna happen in the spring, like tree work, or which we need, or paving or something is gonna sacrifice to backfill what got overspent in the snow and salt budget. Because we gotta work within the current fiscal year unless it's deemed the right thing is to go and ask the, Board of Finance for more money. But then that depletes the general fund and puts all of these things all in peril too. So that becomes the Board of Finance's issue to figure out the right strategy for that.
All right. So you're gonna have further conversations with Troy.
I will have a conversation with Troy about the,
All right.
dump truck,
Trying
the
to
year four thing, and also what he's found with the lower price dump truck and what we think the lifespan of the lower price dump
or
truck
the
is.
with a larger dump truck that has double the load capacity.
Yes.
All right, what else do we have? Before we go into all of the road projects, stormwater treatment chamber, you're gonna work on that. That's open bus lot paving. We have that as year 4. That seems to be okay, correct? So that is line 47. Yeah.
And, you know, one of the things too about, the bus lot paving is I don't anticipate a change in our bus lot, but depending what happens with the school project,
Yeah.
there is at least the possibility
Doesn't have to have.
that the buses get parked somewhere different. You know, or the school ends up in a location that changes the bus routes. I don't know. So
That is a,
it's good for that one to be out a couple of years out. Or,
yeah, it's a good point for potential avoided cost. Okay, so the roads. Let's see.
Going back to line 42.
Yes, line 42. So I guess first things first, the Village Hill Road drainage. Let's go back up to that, line 38.
Oh, yes, sorry. I missed that.
So and 37. 37 was the engineering fees, which was spent, which was approved last year. So now Troy is getting close to shovel ready for this summer for phase 1, that urban action grant spending for the Village Hill Road drainage. When we discussed this last year, 750 was the number with the balance towards Schofield. It sounds like, Mike, those discussions are now anticipating a larger project to complete Village Hill as a larger project and get that.
so we're very close to final pricing. The way the engineer had designed the Village Hill Road project was all of the areas that had to be cut in the pavement to do the project would get patched back in and leave the road patched patched sections because that's cheaper.
You don't want to replace the whole thing, so it's not.
The problem with, there's gonna be so much of the road dug up, and certainly in certain stretches, and the road's beat up already. And it would also not necessarily allow getting all of the pitches exactly right by doing that, so Troy asked him to go back and change that to a grind all the way across and pave. So that we would essentially laser shape the road properly to work with the drainage, and it would be all one smooth surface and not patched in.
Dude, right, never talk about it again.
The whole road? The whole length of the project.
Of the phase 1 project.
Well, the whole. Yes, all the way across from curb to curb. Yes.
But up a certain.
It's gonna be a racetrack even more now.
So,
Do you have
so
an order of magnitude estimate? That's closer to, is
I
it,
really wanted that before I had to sit here tonight. I'm queuing up a bunch of emails as we're talking. So,
no, but I mean, are we like, is that 750 number really closer to 1.5 or are we like?
I would,
way off?
I would think, I mean, I'm really winging it. I think 1.25 to 1.5. So we're gonna use most of the $2 million grant.
Okay, and I guess that's what feeds into the Schofield Road portion, because what we do have is $500,000 for design and engineering also in year one. For the entirety of that multi-phase project for Schofield, and I don't know if we have funding to implement any of that project.
Well, that was the
grant.
So that was the, right, so that $500,000 was supposed to be the rest of the grant, right?
No. The design and engineering of that is capital reserve fund. Because the grant the strong recommendation was that the grant fund not be used for the design and engineering, it should be used for construction. So we were carrying a $500,000 placeholder.
This is sounding familiar now.
With the expectation
that's
that
in
it would
fund
be
for us.
engineering a multi-phase project for Schofield. And then the following year.
Oh,
whatever
that's
was
right,
left
because
in the year,
phase one was UAG eligible.
whatever was
Right.
left out of that UAG
Yes.
grant from Village Hill was gonna be used to get as much of that phase one Schofield done, but
Yeah, right. Now I remember.
my questioning here, it may not be known, is if there is no funding, like we have a project at Schofield, there's been a project at Schofield for 20 years, that just hasn't advanced on the plan. Like, we do have a project there, but it's not gonna be grant funded until we find a new grant.
Well, isn't there gonna be
There's-
math is not good, but
There'll be some value, 500,000 to 750,000 for some portion. I don't know the scope and scale of how much that gets done. The question becomes, the big question is it worth paying for the design and engineering, have a shovel ready project so that there is something that they can go and solicit grant funding for? And I think there probably is. I just
Well,
don't
how
know
long-
if it's this year.
how long does the design and engineering last? Like if we have it done, if we push that out a year, is the grant funding, whatever remains from the UAG grant, gonna still be there? And how long will it take to figure out additional funding? Like, is there a way to do the design and engineering and have like $500,000 remaining from the grant to at least start the project? Like, I understand, I'm sure there is, but how do we get that information to inform this year? Like, I don't wanna spend $500,000 of taxpayer money if we have an engineering plan that's gonna sit on a shelf for 2 years.
That's where I think it would be great knowing how long that project's been and that we have partial grant funding. I am concerned that unless we're willing to say that whatever phase one is, and I don't know, it's actually like a $3 or $4 million request for Schofield. Is that a bonded project that we then carry because we don't have a grant eligibility? Is that how we reflect it in the plan? Those are my broad concerns with.
Cause the UAG grant's $2 million, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And so we're looking at spending about between 1.4 on Schofield, Village Hill.
Yeah, and having some balance left.
Right,
But not enough, maybe not enough to, I forget what it is, but I think that request was like.
It was 1.2.
1.25.
No, it wasn't 1.25. We carried 1.25 because that was what Selectman Tanaka had said, we're gonna have left. So we're gonna do as much.
Because thought it can be 750 for,
Did they agree to be bonded? Is that why it keeps?
No,
it's all in the grant.
So I'm looking.
So basically it's vice versa.
Well, there's 300,000.
Hold on. I have that submission right here, I just gotta find it.
And that's what confused me when they talked about it the first time, and I was like, wait a minute.
When this was brought to board
No, it's not.
finance last year, I thought it was.
$300,000.
Opposite.
Yeah, from Lister Road, right? Am I on the wrong line? No.
Oh, the culverts, that's all that.
Yeah,
was
that's
on
Lister
the
Road.
list.
Oh, okay.
Let's go roads out 3 years.
Yeah, we purposely, well, not as requested, but we had purposely staggered those last year.
Yeah.
To spread these out.
Agreed.
All right, Schofield Road drainage is a $4 million ask.
$4 million.
Yep.
So I am currently exploring more grants for that. There is a new,
3.5 for construction, 500,000, which we're capturing for design.
Shouldn't that be on here?
Yeah, it's not on here. That's, it should have been in year 3 or
it is in our tract, it's in the projected years 6 through 10, 2.25 million. I have it tracked in the sheet that we didn't want to have in the area.
Oh, yeah. So that
So
In a base.
is going to be pushed out to year 6.
well, we were saying we have the balance of this project. We don't know how it's going to get done, but it's not in the plan.
So we're gonna just put it in here.
There wasn't a plan beyond that.
Right.
Yes, is what it boiled down to. That was the direction I
So basically, let's just say for the sake of this conversation that the 1.25 is gonna be switched up to Village Road drainage. And then you're gonna have $750,000 left over. How long are we able to keep that grant? Or
we have, I think we have a pretty long run on that one. I don't remember what the years are, but I think we have 3 years left.
because I don't know, is it worth taking that and put it towards the planning of the next of the Schofield Road drainage?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember why it was
Then-
not advised to do it for
Yeah,
design.
I mean, I don't remember.
I think it was just administrative complications and the way, like the funds, it's like what what you're doing for the fire departments and then emergency
Certain things are
operations.
considered
Certain things are
applicable.
considered more easily reimbursable and they fall within the parameters of the grant. I got the sense that it was that.
I
The
think
rules were really complicated for the design or submitting the design or something.
before I'm comfortable making a decision about it, as far as what we recommend, I think we need 2 pieces of information. One is how long, if we were to do the design engineering plan, how long that would be good for, and how long we have that grant funding available to us. Like, I think those are really important pieces that we can't really make an informed decision about without.
Mike was the one, Mike D'Amato, correct? Was the one who kind of pursued that grant for Troy, or was that correct?
I don't think that was Mike. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Hang on, I'm gonna go,
So urban action grant, we want to know when it sunsets.
Or what, can it be used for something else within?
And stipulations for using for design and engineering. Against, or stipulations against using for design and engineering.
I don't remember why. I don't remember, I guess.
alright, so hang on, I'm adding to my email that I haven't sent yet.
I am,
Um,
in my head, this is kind of transitioning to like, that we captured the 2 million as the urban action grant and
In 2
at
separate.
Village Hill, quite frankly. The design and engineering is its own, it's still potentially a funding source, and then we're just carrying a large Schofield project for some future funding source.
So is it worthwhile for this plan, just for a placeholder, is it switch those, that 750 to 1.25, is it worth switching those? Based on what Mike just said?
In the absence of better data, I think that is,
Just so we know what we're, if that's what it's gonna be, or roughly what it's gonna be, I think it's more realistic numbers than what he just gave than what we have.
so what I did is year 1, I carried it at 1.25 for Village Hill,
Then take that 750 and move it to the
750
to
for.
phase 1 Schofield drainage in year 2.
So then the question becomes.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
can. It's it's more realistic numbers at this point. And again, we're not voting on year two at this point, right?
No,
We're
but
not-
we are,
we're
but
trying to-
if year two's in there, we are kind of the only impact is year one, and whether or not we feel it's warranted to do the planning and engineering. Because we are projecting that.
I mean, that's a hit right on his budget.
That's it, no, that's a hit. We have it covered in reserve fund currently.
Yeah, general reserve, yeah, I'm sorry.
So but that's $500,000 we may have in the fund balance. I'm not sure. We can leave it and flag it.
Let's leave it and flag it, yes.
That sounds good. And I'll ask Troy for whatever further info he can get on the urban action grant. And if it becomes available in the next week and a half, then we'll go from there.
And how long the design and engineering plan would be good for?
So, I mean, there's duration on that. It may need updates if any regulations change, but if it sits on the shelf for 5 years, then it will probably need to be updated. For current code and
yeah.
standards.
But if it's like a year and a half, 2 years, it just may need some addendums added to it.
Okay, but we don't know.
Yeah,
We
right.
don't know if it'll be 2
Well,
years or 5 years.
Right,
So-
that's the thing.
Mike, this wasn't gonna be the town engineer, this is gonna be bid out as a sizable project.
Yeah, we actually have been looking, Carl and his firm are pretty heavily loaded, including with a list of projects from Wellington.
Yeah.
We're actually looking at, some other firms that do this type of engineering that might be available to add some of these projects to. So we don't keep loading Carl.
Realistically, is it really gonna happen?
Well, that's my question. Like, if we carry $500,000 to get this and planning and engineering done, is it at the point where
It's ready.
you're able, like, is it at a stage where you would be able to engage and actually onboard somebody to do this design work? Is the bigger question.
Yeah, I think it would be done similar to how we've been doing these, like working with Carl, except it would just be a different firm. These, some of these are on the purchasing contract already through DAS or through CROG.
Okay.
So we could basically give them, we would give them a basic scope of the expected work, and they would give us, some sort of a fee for services letter. And we would decide if we have the funding to pay for those services and start moving it.
So I'm on it.
I'm adding bullet points to my email to Troy, which is some of them are overlapping with yours as well as the dump trucks, the UAG grant, Village Hill, and why not design on Schofield, just to understand.
Leave it then, let's leave it and
We'll get more
we'll
information.
get some more info and then we'll see what next week brings. If Troy.
Yeah, we just got a new notice, from the state that the, what they call a NOFO now, Notice of Funding Opportunity. That the, next round of TRIP grants are about to open up and, those are, projects from 300 to 2 million. And, it's this type of stuff, so
So the
look at it and
Schofield-
see if.
So that,
If we could get a portion of Schofield into the TRIP grant.
We've never gotten a trip grant, have we? That one,
I think we have, yeah.
we've never been.
Sure.
It was one of the other ones. Anyway, all right, well,
I think
it's
we
an
all did
opportunity.
one.
stop when you get.
I mean, I'm trying all of them, so.
All right.
I just wanted, for the sake of planning, are we gonna power through all of this tonight, or are we gonna like break it up and do some next week as well?
I think we're gonna do some next week. I was gonna ask you guys when we got through DPW, how you felt?
Perfect.
Given that we're approaching 9 o'clock and, we've already got more questions than I think we have resolution on this, so, all right, Liska's out of ways. Liska, that is culverts. There was potentially, am I thinking of a different project? Is there some where that may go away as some,
Liska?
yeah, the culverts is,
No, that's
Culvert replacement, wasn't there? You had a whole big discussion, like, said we got a big report about. Somebody prepared a report, the selectmen discussed it at one point in time, there were like 6 on there in Wellington that needed repair.
Yes, it was, I remember this I remember something.
Yeah, but I don't think Lisco was going away from that. I'm trying to remember the conversation we're talking about.
I don't remember at some point, I feel like there was a conversation about whether there was an alternate source of funding for this, but I could be wrong.
Oh, there was, there is some money, state and federal level money for projects that are flood mitigation. And, we're trying to figure out if that could be moved to a grant like that, because one of the premises, if that's the right word, one of the reasons that this culvert needs to be replaced is it's susceptible to damage during flooding, and the water overruns the road because the capacity through the culvert is not, doesn't meet the calculation, which is why they did the one at the turn in Moose Meadow Road by the Fent Ruby Farm, is a giant pre-made concrete double chamber thing. And that was done to make sure that it could not be overrun by larger water flows. But I have no,
We don't
I
have
have
any
no,
detail, and it's still a ways out.
we didn't even get an inkling from them yet. I think that's one of the ones Mike D'Amato reached out to the contact there to see if it would even be eligible, and I don't think they've even responded to that email yet, so.
Alright, so, I mean.
I'm just being hopeful about lots of things.
Well, I mean.
Who knows what comes through?
That's half of this plan. I mean, that's bullshit. It's gonna happen.
Hopes and dreams, 5 years.
So, I mean, I think the only list, it is what it is, it's on the plan for years 3 and 4 now. I think if we move, if Schofield shifts, that shifts with it, would be my.
Yes, I would
agree. So we'll address it when it comes down to that.
So I just want to go back to TRIP for a second, because just so that everyone knows where it is. So Monday, they put out the announcement. The next round of TRIP grants, the application process will open. Well, it opened that same day. So it opened on Monday of this week, and it's open through May 1st for application. So we're just starting to look now at what's eligible and if it could be. So. Well, let's just hope. Transportation Rural Improvement Program. TRIP.
We get some buses up in here.
There you go. There's rural transportation.
That's right.
Sorry, I'm looking around, I'm trying to open that note and see what we got for a trip. 20% match requirement, infrastructure projects, administered by CROG. Never utilized as a funding source by Wellington. So we've never used TRIP. Get on that, Mike. All right.
Yeah, I pretty much caught up everything else now, so I should have plenty of room for this.
But wait, there's
a clear runway now.
So let's go on to another grant, Bullshit. Steve grant. So, all right, so we got we gotta make decisions on the road work stuff down the road. But we'll get more info on that covers that. The last thing we have here, I think, is the salt shed that we haven't discussed yet for Public Works. That is up to $1 million. It is Steve grants cover up to $1 million. This was requested at 1.5.
He shrunk the
We shrunk it to 800,000, but
But don't put the shed.
But I don't think he's actually done that or got it up to date for more than
And plus he was doing like a lot of the site stuff himself, clearing
And we
the
don't have the
trees.
steep grant, do we?
We do know it would have to be, so there were 2 questions with that, Mike. You were gonna follow up and see if we were in fact closed out and if that was something that we could even consider as applicable.
Yes, and I have not gotten confirmation from the state yet, but I believe we are closed out on the current steep grant.
So it is a competitive grant. We'd have to apply for it. He does have drawings kind of ready. They need to be modified if we wanted to shrink that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Troy, told me today that he, from one of the conferences that, industry conferences that he went to, he had, saved some cards from companies that do salt sheds. And he had reached out to one of the companies to, they do a prefab where basically they tell you what site work to do. You do it to the engineering and then they bring in the concrete walls, as prefab sections and set them down in, they go down in below frost, but they're all preformed. And they build both all the sections together and then put a hoop frame over it, hoop frame building. And so he talked to them and he is trying to get a price from them on they have certain sizes because of the prefab. And so something that was just slightly larger than half the size of this previous one seemed to fit into their formula for their steps and sizes.
Yep.
So he is hoping to have a price very soon on that.
Is there any possibility that he's gonna have something like actionable already in year one?
I think, I'm adding that to the email also we talked about it this morning, so I know it's hot, but,
I know those can be pretty quick.
Yeah, if the engineering can be done for the site work to boot it up, then it's just making it done.
Yeah.
But it's not as direct hit the taxpayers on their bottom line. It doesn't really, it doesn't change the data.
Yeah.
It's a good placeholder, right?
It's something that we say, well, we're committing basically in this plan, we're saying that we're saying this project.
Yeah.
And that we're anticipating being funded through a steep grant.
Right.
And it'll just sit there until he is able to get said steep grant for it, or makes a new request to modify it to fund it through a different source. But it would be technically a project approved.
Yeah, right, yes.
In our plan for a grant that we don't have yet.
And it's cheaper to go full concrete walls than mafia blocks.
We're not, I don't even get into.
I'm just asking the question.
It doesn't really trying to figure out what the process is for, like, if we don't have the grant, there's no point in having the plan as year one. If we're not gonna fund it in any other, if we're not gonna fund it any other way, it makes zero sense to.
Yeah.
Push it a year.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
And if
so
you get
let's
the grant,
see, let
you
me just refresh
push it
Ryan here.
back.
Yeah, if you get the grant, you can
The line
do it. It's a grant. It doesn't affect
It doesn't affect anybody.
Yeah, so that's probably the thing, is put it in year two right now, because we don't have an identified funding source for it. And then if we get the funding for it, the only impact it would potentially have is if we have to do matching. But like steep, I don't think we do matching in steep, do we?
Steve, I
No,
believe,
it's,
is.
Steep is 100%.
yeah.
Eligible project, right?
So a 20% municipal match of the total project is preferred, but not required. I have in my notes.
Okay,
But there's $1
do
million
you-
cap on it.
So there was a round of steep grants awarded in 2025, but we didn't apply for those, did we? Did Pete?
I don't think so. What we did, the only thing I know for sure we did with steep in 2025 was we had extended, so the steep grant for the Old Town Hall septic and windows was a 2022 steep grant, I believe. And in 2024, Pete signed the extension for 1 year to end in July 1 of 2025 for that one to finish the work at the Old Town Hall. So that was the end of any possible extension on the 2022. So I think because of all of that, we weren't necessarily eligible for others.
Which raised the question, are we closed out now? So would we be eligible as it?
So I've added that. My
Yeah.
email for tomorrow is getting longer and longer and it's checking on the closeout.
I just looked up steep grant. they were due last year on February 20th, 2025.
So they should be due February 20th of this year.
Well, not always,
typing, Mike.
it's not always the same schedule, I know that.
Well, there's 9
But-
days left.
Hold on, let's see if we can find.
That's all right.
The holidays.
Great brand.
Do they have an announcement for this round of Steve?
For 2025, they did, yeah,
But they don't for 2026.
no, because,
So they probably haven't opened the applications yet then.
I don't know, I might not be on the right page.
All right. So long story short, I think what,
Either way, I think it should be moved
Right,
until they
either,
have funding.
we move it out a year, and if we get the steep grant. And we can use it for the salt shed, it's not a hit on anybody. Unless we have to do some engineering costs, and at that point,
They'd have to come to the Board of Finance, then
Well, the good thing if this prefab if the prefab route works, then the engineering is in the project cost.
correct.
You know, because you essentially make the purchase through the vendor, they provide you with the engineering for
And
your
you can do it to
groundwork.
their spec.
You do the groundwork to their spec, then they come in and plunk the building in.
Right.
and if they're doing the work, then.
Yeah, so Public Works could do the excavating, they might have to rent a compactor, they might have to have an engineer check compaction, but that would be small
Yeah,
compared to.
Yeah, those third-party inspections aren't that expensive. So.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just put that at the cap of $1 million, because we don't know what the project is, because that's what Steve, it's,
It's
the
up to
request is
$1 million.
the request is 1.5.
We dropped it to 800.
Troy's gonna bring it down, because he already said he was looking to shrink the size.
yeah, it's good.
We're not paying for it, we can't afford to pay for it, we don't have the funding source beyond a steep grant possibility right now. So if we're tracking it at year 2, let's just track it at year 2. Get the $1 million. In the interim, Troy is working through the mechanics and the logistics of getting that accomplished, in some form or fashion. So be it, I'm good with that. Okay. I have no idea where this balance is all at thus far, but we're not done, so it doesn't really matter. All right, it's 9 o'clock. We will not have fund balances for next week's meeting either. So we can continue, and I will do my best to update with best assumptions on closed out projects and fund balances, so that we can at least get a first look. But it sounds like we're gonna need 2 more meetings. Get this, we have 2 more meetings, so, just putting that out there. We're trying to get done on the 25th, because Mike's before the Board of Finance on the 26th. And all of these things.
Mike's looking forward to that.
All of these things are gonna hit Mike's budget. Some of these things are gonna hit Mike's budget.
You don't know what we got down to.
Well, if this is calculating right, I don't think we got down to much. No, we did. We were down, if my numbers are right.
Hey, we went down.
If my numbers are right, we were down to 2.208 from 2.5 something.
So this one had 2679 on the bottom of that.
Local.
So we're down
500
and some.
right? If I'm right?
I thought it was 2.5 and change, 2.5.
256,450.
We came down.
So it'd be 88, Mike, and year 1.
Maybe I'm on the wrong line here.
Yeah, so we came down about $350,000, guys, so far.
Oh, yeah, I didn't go far enough down, sorry.
And I will double check that math, don't hold me to.
No,
that.
and I wasn't. I know you have to go look at, it does not sometimes.
I
I get that.
I took great pains to get this sort of auto tabulates if you do it right. But when you're Johnny Fingers here live, trying to do that live.
I understand.
So Christina, you may have found it by now, but, for everyone's sake, there are no current steep rounds
No,
open.
I just sent you guys an email
Okay.
for that,
Got it.
yeah.
Municipalities will be contacted when applications are being accepted.
In other words, leave us alone.
Yeah, don't bother us, we'll bother you,
But
maybe.
Stop asking. We did draft it back in 2017, so there is a draft somewhere in the site, of the grant submission for the salt shed.
Okay.
We have it.
Copy and paste.
Yeah, seriously.
There isn't a hell of a lot left on here.
Yeah, like I'll be able to find it.
That's hitting.
No, I know. When we were talking, I was looking, so.
So most of it is reserve fund or or, I mean, there's a town office building, common room floors upstairs, Mike, that'll save us 35 grand more, but. And the open space fund and that is, well,
What about the animal control? 'Cause that's funded for.
yeah, that's fund 04, so it's not a budget, that's a fund balance game, meaning we either have. So where that factors in is the level of reserve transfer we're requesting up in line 3.
Right.
Okay. To cover what we project is happening in the following years, that we have enough to cover, the projects we are anticipating coming down the pike.
Okay.
But I will try to get a better sense, at least and it'll be my numbers, waiting for validation from Sherry, but.
Yeah, but we don't have anything for capital for animal control, right?
We had a projected $375,000 project to.
Oh, to repair the
It's
building.
in the plan for
Yeah.
the current year now.
Well, that was to go regional in our,
That was if we were gonna have to update
Yes.
our building.
no,
So
So
there was an update today. I got an email this afternoon from our coordinator from CROG, and I haven't opened it yet because I haven't had time. But I have an update, and I'll take a quick look now just in case it matters for this conversation.
Just go ahead and keep going.
we just forgot, no. I was just
Sorry.
we got into the where are we at conversation and I'm like, we're there, but there's not.
there's not a lot left.
There's not a lot left.
All right.
No, so let's table the rest of this, for the next meeting. We will start with the library, or we'll do some updates. on
Yeah, so
what
we'll
we
start at 9:49.
Go through the library. I will do my best to try to make sure that this is tabulating and look at the table 2 and do an initial update to it. Even if I'm still awaiting accurate account balances, I'll at least close out what I think,
So will we be able to have a new sheet next week or?
I will. That is always my hope, Jen.
Well, I'm not trying to be greedy.
No, I get it. Yes,
We're gonna just go back through anyway, but if we're actually making like determinations next week, it would be.
that's why I made the changes late tonight, so that we have a better chance of that happening.
2 thumbs way up, Jim Murray.
So, I just gotta go back through and take a look at it this weekend. So what we'll do, yes, I will. The changes I think we made tonight, I will reflect and get you a copy of that to start our discussions for the next meeting.
So just quick, I just looked at the email, and the key item in this is the goal is by the end of March, the interlocal agreements will be signed between the towns and the CROG will sign the grant. And so everything should be settled, and I should have
something there.
I should have a look through, but they were drafted. We have a draft agreement already between the towns. We just didn't have the financials. And I'll look through the materials she sent me and see if there's a financials. And if it is still the way that this was going, our facility is not going to be used.
Yeah, so it's not gonna be a year 1 request.
Yeah.
May happen, Mike, and it may be in future consideration, or we may just transition into some lesser project placeholder for insulating or getting that water line protected.
Yeah, we may, a smaller project for securing that building properly.
Because
Because the well comes out of there for
Yeah.
the garage, right?
Yeah.
So we have to keep the whole building around it? Like, can't we just?
Well, no, that's what
no,
we
but
would
there's
figure out.
for us to do something.
Right now, just the heat is on in the room that's keeping the well from freezing.
I understand.
And so as soon as we know, we have the agreement signed, so we know we don't have to use the building as a animal control building anymore, then we decide what to do with the building. Do we knock the rest of it down and keep the little shed around the well, or do we move the well somewhere else, or?
Or do you have a well somewhere that it can be maintained somehow?
Right. Yeah, reroute it down to the public works building, since we'll have 2 forms of heat. And then we'll have to, put the pump tanks and everything in there.
Okay, I'm gonna hit save on this. And then I'm gonna get my agenda back out because I realized we have to still close this meeting out, so hold on 1 second. Yeah. Here. Thank you, sir. All right, so that Cover this for plan discussions today. 3C, we are going to table because that is plan approval, which we are nowhere near ready for. So moving on to old business, facility manager role discussion. We had targeted next week for that, so I am going to suggest we table that one as well. I agree. And there may even be a future meeting after that, but we'll see, depending on how this goes. So we're back to present to speak, and there is nobody in the room. So do I have a motion to adjourn? Item 6.
So move.
Second.
All right, all those.
Hang on. Do you have someone?
That's Peter Bacon.
That's Peter.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Never mind. Never mind.
I hear.
Sorry.
So, we have a motion to adjourn and seconded. Who made that motion? So for the record, Jason made it, Jennifer seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, you have it. All right, thank you, everybody. Meeting adjourned at 9:16 p.m.